Hollywood's notoriously bad at identifying what people actually like about movies. That's why after Star Wars was released in 1977 and kicked the teeth out of every pocketbook in America, Tinseltown spent the next decade just tossing terrible science fiction movies at the wall with no real understanding of why none of it was working. Space? Is it space? No? Lasers? Robots? You like magic? What? What is it? Consequently, there are several lessons that the mainstream film industry just can't seem to learn, despite us as audiences doing everything we can to try and teach them. For instance, people want comedies starring women. A few months back, Melissa McCarthy's The Boss opened to a strong box office, despite being one of the worst reviewed movies of the year. Even worse than Batman v Superman, but not currently as bad as Ice Age 5, When Is This Gonna Melt? Her previous movie, Tammy, also got generally bad reviews, but went on to make $100 million worth of genuine spendable money. So clearly, the audience for female-led comedies not only exists, but is so starved for content that even objectively bad movies can do well. Because Hollywood refuses to make more than like 2 of them a year. No shortage of Zac Efron comedies, though. We are in the golden age of Efron.
I just smoke crack! We need somebody who can relate to stupid young people.
There's no reason Paul Feig and Melissa McCarthy should be the only game in town. Every time they make a movie together, we pelt them with cash. Bridesmaids, Spy, The Heat are all $100 million successes. Pitch Perfect and Pitch Perfect 2 also did huge numbers. Pitch Perfect 2 opened the same weekend as Mad Max Fury Road and brought in nearly twice as much money. Mad Max had nitro trucks and a man in a rubber glove playing a flaming guitar, but we were way more excited to see the continuing adventures of Anna Kendrick and her delightful friends because we so rarely get to have that experience. Related to that, one of the only female-led comedies released this year is Ghostbusters, and if Ghostbusters winds up underperforming, which it currently looks like it might, at least stateside, the lesson Hollywood will almost certainly take away is that women can't headline big budget movies, and not that maybe spending $150 million remaking one of the most famous movies of all time wasn't the greatest idea. Incidentally, that's 2.5 times what it cost to make both original Ghostbusters films. There's probably a lesson there too. Conversely, if a big budget movie starring an ensemble cast of women does really well, Hollywood catches mind blindness and forgets it ever happened. Quick, what's the highest grossing baseball movie ever made? It's A League of Their Own. A movie starring Gina Davis, Lori Petty, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, and like 10 scenes of drunk Tom Hanks. In the 2.5 decades since, we have seen like 0 major studio sports movies about teams of women. We got Whip It in 2009. Other than that, it's a wasteland. Certain genres just don't make money. Maybe don't spend $200 million on a Western. Westerns used to be like one of 2 different kinds of movies they made in Hollywood. Every other movie that came out between 1920 and 1960 starred John Wayne and/or white actors dressed up as Native Americans. I'm not even sure they were called Westerns back then. They were just regular movies. But Americans abruptly stopped giving one grizzled Sam Elliott mustache fart about Westerns in the second half of the 20th century, and it's been a risky genre ever since. The highest grossing Western ever made was Dances with Wolves, and that film's success was largely due to the fact that it cost like $20 million to make, and we were still okay with the idea of giving Kevin Costner Oscars instead of sending him off to die in a tornado. That's the thing. Westerns have never been huge box office draws, even back when they were cranking them out like iTunes updates. Think of the last time a Western was #1 at the box office. It almost never happens. Hidalgo, Appaloosa, Tombstone, 310 to Yuma, Quigley Down Under, Costner's follow-up Western, Wyatt Earp, the recurring confirmation that Western comedies almost never work, A Million Ways to Die in the West. None of these movies were big hits. So naturally, Disney dumped $200 million into a Lone Ranger movie. No Western movie in history has ever grossed $200 million domestically. Closest ones were the True Grit remake, which pulled in $175 million, and Dances with Wolves, which came out 26 goddamn years ago. The 2 most successful Westerns ever made, combined, cost less money to produce than Disney spent to shelter and feed Johnny Depp and apply his Glenn Danzig face paint. Speaking of Johnny Depp and too much money, before 2003, pirate movies were box office poison. Film students kept copies of Roman Polanski's Pirates on their desks like shards from the Challenger explosion, warning them against the dangers of dreaming too big. Children hung copies of Cutthroat Island above their beds to catch nightmares. If you brought either of those films into a Blockbuster, they would instantly erase every other tape in the store like a haunted magnet. But Disney poured $100 million into their pirate movie anyway, and cast Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush as the 2 most captively entertaining pirates in cinematic history. And Hollywood mistakenly thought that it was the $100 million side of that equation that resulted in the film's success. Judging by The Lone Ranger, Disney thought the winning recipe was $100 million and Johnny Depp. People would have watched those 2 characters play backgammon on a tugboat through a black and white kinetoscope if the writing was good enough. See, money doesn't create interest, it just makes interesting things look better. Also, with very few exceptions, fantasy movies never do well. Swords, goblins, and wizards are super expensive, and unless your movie has hobbits in it, it's pretty much a guarantee you're gonna lose money. Dragonheart, Dragon Slayer, Dragon War, pretty much anything with dragons in it, really. The answer isn't to stop making fantasy movies, of course, because Game of Thrones is one of the biggest cultural phenomena ever, but we should definitely stop making King Arthur movies. And maybe stop making Peter Pan movies? Nobody cares about Peter Pan. There are certain literary characters like Peter Pan and Tarzan that are more or less universally recognized, but with the notable exception of 2 Disney cartoons, no Peter Pan or Tarzan movie has ever sold enough tickets to justify dumping several inheritances into. Not even Hook was a runaway hit, and Steven Spielberg directing Robin Williams as Peter Pan is probably the best possible version of that movie. There was a well-reviewed but overwhelmingly unattended $100 million Peter Pan movie that came out back in 2003, but apparently nobody in Hollywood read that particular legend because they spent even more money on a hilarious Hugh Jackman wig version just last year. And nobody saw it because still nobody cares about Peter Pan. And fucking Tarzan hasn't moved the needle since movies have been in color. Just leave those guys alone, man. It's really just the one teenage apocalypse movie that everyone likes. It was recently announced that the 4th and final film in the Special Teen Saves the World Divergent series would be released as a made-for-TV movie because people around the world had gradually stopped caring to the point of barely showing up for the 3rd one. Similarly, movies like The Host, The Giver, Ender's Game, The Maze Runner, and probably like 6 others that I'm forgetting, failed to ignite the collective imagination of moviegoers everywhere, which confounded everyone in Hollywood trying to get a piece of that sweet, sweet Hunger Games pie, or loaf, or whatever the fabulous baker boy gives to Jennifer Lawrence. This happens in cycles, all the time, because Hollywood has yet to figure out that people like stories, not genres. Fans of Jaws didn't pour out to see Grizzly, Orca, or Piranha because they're not fans of killer animal movies, they're fans of Jaws. Harry Potter fans didn't flock to go see the Spiderwick Chronicles or A Series of Unfortunate Events because they're not fans of magic children, they're fans of Harry Potter. And buying I'm a fan of Magic Children t-shirt from Amazon is a good way to get your computer taken away by federal agents. Hollywood always mistakes successes for trends. People like good stories and memorable characters. The genre is incidental. Few people rush out to see a movie just because they love the genre. What was the first thing Disney did in the wake of the staggeringly unexpected success of Pirates of the Caribbean? Besides immediately greenlight enough sequels and action figures to convince future plane-striding alien archaeologists that the currency of the early 21st century was pirate-themed merchandise. Don't bother pestering Google at this hour, I'll tell you what they did. They dumped everything they had into the impending release of The Haunted Mansion because they felt this was a sure sign that what the world really wanted was to watch movies about Disneyland attractions. Despite the sobering truth that previous blood sacrifices, Mission to Mars, and The Country Bears had desperately struggled to reveal to them. This isn't even a genre that exists, and Disney still felt confident it was ripe for exploitation, because exploitation is the lens through which Disney experiences the world. Deadpool convinced Hollywood we want R-rated superhero movies. Deadpool is like the perfect storm of people refusing to learn the correct lesson from watching a movie, sort of like watching School of Rock and having your big takeaway be how easy it would be to steal a bus full of children. The writers, director, and star Ryan Reynolds had to argue for literally years to get the movie greenlit, and even then they had their already trimmed for a superhero movie budget cut back even more in the middle of filming. It was all fine. The movie turned out great. It's one of the biggest movies of the year, and it's the top grossing R-rated film of all time after Passion of the Christ. It's weird that that's #1. However, because major movie studios base all their decisions on easily explainable numbers and trends while possessing all the actual wisdom of boiled mayonnaise, Hollywood took Deadpool's success as a sign that what audiences are really hungry for are R-rated superhero movies. Ignoring the fact that R-rated superhero movies already exist, Punisher, the Blade trilogy, Watchmen, Daredevil, and Jessica Jones, Fox's immediate response to the runaway success of Deadpool was to announce that the next Wolverine movie would carry a money-printing R rating. Because clearly we haven't seen everything we can see of Wolverine after 7 movies. Those PG-13s have been holding us back from the authentic Wolverine experience we deserve. Deadpool was a success because it was different. It cost like 1/4 of any Avengers or Batman related movie, so it didn't look the same because it couldn't afford to. The script was weird and kind of experimental. It tries a lot of things that don't always work, and its main character constantly shuffles between obnoxious and endearing. It's a bizarre, frenetic little movie that made fun of itself, but not to the point of calling you stupid for watching it. It couldn't have been the best version of all those things without an R rating. All we're gonna get out of an R-rated Wolverine movie is lingering shots of the graphic violence we already know he inflicts on people. Warner Brothers released an R-rated cut of Batman v Superman on Blu-ray, which is a movie that, in its PG-13 version, features a scene wherein a man pees in a jar to let Holly Hunter know she's about to explode. And we watch Batman spend weeks meticulously planning the murder of a public figure. Point is, we don't like R-rated superhero movies. We liked that specific R-rated superhero movie. Nobody wants an R-rated Superman or Captain America. And Batman movies already take themselves so damn seriously that I'm amazed he's even able to fight crime while burdened by all that angst. More like sad, man. Am I right? High five, Tom. Proud of what we've done here. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and go down in the comments and help me name some more dragon movies. We got, what we got? We got Aragon, we got How to Train Your Dragon, we got Reign of Fire, that's a good one. We got How to Lose a Dragon in 10 Days. We got Clash of the Dragons. We got Dragon Battle. We got Fantastic Dragons. The Dragons, Age of Ultron. Dragon Interrupted. Cape Dragon, Citizen Dragon, Forest Dragon, Dragon Harbor.